Is AI very overwhelming for you, not knowing where to start or where to get materials? Well, if I was to relearn AI in 2025 from scratch, I'll give you a step-by-step on courses, tools, and references that you should know about so that you can learn it and catch up to everyone else. Because AI is not going to take people's jobs. It's people who know how to use the AI tools that are going to take people who don't know AI's jobs. So let's dive in. So step one is to get a solid foundation of data science. To master AI, I would have a good understanding of data science and machine learning and focus on the big categories and not on the unnecessary details at the very beginning. I would go to Khan Academy or go to Coursera and learn how to code with Python, because Python has the most AI libraries of all the different languages. So there's no need to learn all these different things that people are saying, like MATLAB or R. Just focus on learning Python first. Now that you understand Python, then the next step is you want to understand machine learning algorithms. So there are different types of algorithms, and there's different categories of machine learning. So there are supervised learning algorithms, and then there are unsupervised learning algorithms. In industry, we generally don't use unsupervised learning methods. We mainly use supervised. So of supervised, there's different categories of ML. There is regression, there is classification, there is decision trees, there is computer vision, and then there is natural language processing, so NLP. If by understanding what all these categories are, now you can go ahead and look at each algorithm that's under each one and understand what's its purpose, when is it used, and you don't really have to understand the exact code per se, because most people use libraries to implement the actual algorithm. You just need to understand how to use it, when to use it, and then you can go find a library and use it in your use case. If doing that research is not enough, then I would go and take the Coursera course on machine learning from Andrew Ng at Coursera. Don't bother looking at all these other courses, because you might get overwhelmed by all the different content. This is done very strictly, very precisely. But in general speaking, I don't think you need to learn the details. If you know what the categories are and what the algorithms are, you can go into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT explain to you line by line how that each algorithm works. So step two is understanding the machine learning process. So now that you know the theory, you know what your toolkits are, now you need to understand how you actually implement an AI project. So the idea is that usually people have a problem and then they need to go find the data, or they already have data. Once you have the data, you need to take the data and you have to clean the data, because the data is never precise. So you need to clean the data, remove columns, remove any information you don't need. And that process is just called data cleaning. So once you clean the data, then the next step is called data wrangling. So the idea of data wrangling is basically you would take the data and you would use your brain and try to figure out, analyze it, what's important and what's not important for me to model the AI to do what it needs to be done. And this process, it's very explorative. There's no clear-cut rules, but basically it's just do analysis work to make sure, okay, this is what we actually need. And then now that we have that, you probably would have chosen which AI model algorithm to use. But if you didn't, you can think about the model algorithm now. And once you know the algorithm, then the next step is you need to take your data and you need to split it up into training data and testing data. You need to have two, so that you use the training data to train the AI. And then for testing data, that is to test the AI to see how well the AI performs. Now, you have the data cleaned, you have done your analysis work, you've chosen the model, now you have to go train the model. So when you want to train the model, depending on the model, some models can use CPU only, some can use GPU. If you need to use GPU, there's different providers for GPUs. If you are a student and you don't have a lot of money, you can apply for AWS grants, AWS credits with AWS Activate, or you can use Microsoft Azure's startup fund and get $5,000 for that. And then you can use their GPUs to train. For me, I usually use RunPod to train because they have the cheapest GPU pricing and you can turn it on and off whenever you want. So next you would train the model, and you want to train the model and then make sure that its accuracy rate is at least 70 to 80%. You don't want it to be exactly 95% or above, because there's a term called overfitting, where basically your model is so close to your data that it can't, any other data that's not your data set, it won't work properly. So you're looking for the sweet spot of 70 to 80%, and then you should run the model on the testing data and see how well it performs. If it performs like close to 90%, then that's like you did a good job and like you're ready to go. And if it's not, then you have to go back in the process, tweak the data, maybe retrain the model, and keep iterating this process until you are happy with the results. Generally speaking, you never come out with like 90% accuracy on the first time you do it. You have to keep doing it until it works. And that's one frustration people have about AI, which is basically you can spend months on the AI, but if the AI gives you the wrong answer, people think it doesn't work and it's time wasted. So be very careful when you are explaining to people the results of the AI model, no matter how much time you put into it. Now that the AI model works, the next step is deployment. So the idea is you would have to find a server to host the AI model that the backend developers or the front-end developers can call and use your AI model to give back an answer. So that is called deployment, and you might need to learn how to deploy. So there's a lot of different guides on DevOps on how to deployment. I would watch those videos to learn that. So step 3 of the process is doing real life projects. So there are sites like Hugging Face and Kaggle where basically they give you a lot of data sets and they give you a lot of content to learn from. I would just choose something that interests you, go on Kaggle, look for a data set, and then start training a model. Figure out what model am I supposed to use. Is it supervised learning or is it unsupervised learning? Which algorithm should I use? What servers do I need to train this? What are the fields I need in my data set so that I can actually train the model? So I would do all that work and then do it on a real project and then train it, and then you understand the process. You do this a few times and then you get a feel of like what needs to be done. And then after that, you should be ready to do real life projects for companies, or you can do it for your own startup. Step 4 of the process is getting good at presentation skills and talking to business stakeholders. So for most people who are doing data science, you are not interacting with the dev team that much. You're mostly interacting with business users. So being articulate about how you speak about the data, the story of what the data happens, how does the model work, is very important. So I would go to join programs like Toastmaster to get better at speaking, learn to create PowerPoint presentations so that you can present your data in a more clear manner, and learning to speak less technical when you are speaking to business people. Step 6 is staying up to date. There's new AI news coming out every single week, and it's very hard to keep up if you do not work in the industry. So what I would do is I would, subscribe to YouTubers or subscribe to Twitter news about AI, the new AI things that are coming out. If there's new papers coming out, try to read those if you can. If you don't understand it, you can put it into ChatGPT and have it kind of explain it to you. There are communities like Analytics where basically there are 4 million data scientists in it, and they write in-depth blog articles and there's a community you can engage in so you can stay up to date on the latest AI developments. And just every time a new tool comes out, practice using it and learn how to involve it into your workflow. Like, can I use this in my workflow? Don't say, oh, I only know these tools, I'm not going to adopt more stuff. And have an open mind, because AI is the future. It's going to change the way that we live, the way we work, and the way we create content. So keeping up to date is, I think, one of the most valuable skills that you should have. So if this content was valuable for you, like and subscribe to stay up to date for more AI news and tech tools that are coming out.